Have you ever wondered whether a Muslim is allowed to keep a dog at home? It's a question that frequently comes up, especially among those who have a deep love for animals and feel drawn to the companionship that dogs provide. Across cultures and throughout history, dogs have been much more than just pets. They have served as loyal protectors, skilled hunting companions, and even as sources of emotional comfort for countless individuals. Their intelligence, unwavering loyalty, and affectionate nature have made them one of the most cherished animals worldwide. People develop profound emotional bonds with their dogs, often treating them as members of the family. In many Western societies, it is entirely normal for dogs to live inside homes, sleep on their owners' beds, and be pampered like children. However, for a Muslim, the question is not solely about love or emotional attachment. It extends to a much deeper and more significant dimension, one that is spiritual in nature. A Muslim's ultimate reference point is always the same. What does Islam say about this matter? Before conforming to societal norms, before adopting modern trends, and even before following personal desires, a believer turns to the guidance of Allah and His Messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This principle is the foundation of the Islamic way of life. Whether it concerns dietary laws, dressing modestly, or structuring our daily lives, the guiding compass remains divine revelation. When it comes to dogs, opinions can often be conflicting. Some assert that dogs are entirely prohibited in Islam, while others claim there is nothing wrong with keeping them. So, which viewpoint is correct? The goal should not be to pick sides based on personal inclinations. Instead, the focus should be on returning to the primary sources of Islamic knowledge, the Quran, the authentic Hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the scholarly interpretations of those who have dedicated their lives to understanding these teachings. This topic is particularly sensitive because it involves the well-being of animals. Islam, being a religion of mercy, holds compassion at its core. One of the most frequently mentioned names of Allah in the Quran is Ar-Rahman, the Most Merciful. Moreover, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent as a mercy to all of creation. Therefore, any ruling in Islam, even if it does not immediately seem so, is founded upon wisdom and compassion. Many Muslims grow up hearing that dogs are impure, that they prevent angels from entering a home, and that they should be avoided at all costs. This sometimes results in unnecessary fear or even mistreatment of dogs. On the other hand, some Muslims, particularly those raised in more liberal environments, feel that Islamic teachings on dogs are overly strict or outdated. However, as is always the case in Islam, the truth lies in balance, not excessive rigidity nor unchecked leniency. Islam does not advocate for blind rejection of dogs, nor does it promote blind attachment to them. Instead, it provides a balanced perspective that incorporates both spiritual and practical wisdom. So, let's clarify this issue systematically and eliminate misunderstandings. And to do that, we must start at the most fundamental and authoritative source of guidance, the Quran. Dogs in the Quran. Surprisingly, many people are unaware that dogs are actually mentioned in the Quran. And not just in passing, but in one of the most spiritually profound stories in the entire book, the story of the people of the cave. In Surah Al-Kahf, Allah tells us about a group of young men who fled from a tyrannical society that worshipped idols. These young believers refused to compromise their faith. To preserve their belief in Allah, they left behind their homes, their comforts and their safety, choosing to seek refuge in a cave. Allah caused them to fall into a miraculous sleep that lasted for centuries. But what is even more fascinating is that Allah did not describe their situation alone. He also mentioned who was with them. And you would have thought them awake while they were asleep. And we turned them to the right and to the left while their dog stretched its forelegs at the entrance. Surah Al-Kahf 18:18. This verse is deeply profound. Consider this: Allah specifically chose to mention the presence of a dog. He could have omitted it, but He didn't. This alone tells us something significant. The dog was not depicted as an impure or cursed creature. On the contrary, it was a part of the story of these pious young men. The dog's role in the story was that of a guardian, watching over the entrance while they slept inside the cave. This suggests that dogs in and of themselves are not seen as evil or detestable in Islam. Some scholars have even reflected on the deeper spiritual symbolism of the verse. The dog did not enter the cave itself, but it remained just outside, close yet separate, connected yet distinct. This imagery perhaps reflects the balanced Islamic perspective on dogs. They are not to be entirely rejected, nor are they to be fully integrated into sacred spaces. Nowhere in the Quran is it stated that dogs are haram. There's no verse that explicitly prohibits keeping or owning a dog. In fact, another verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah refers to trained hunting dogs in the context of halal food, which we will explore later. So, if the Quran does not categorically forbid dogs, where do the restrictions come from? This is where the Hadiths of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, play a crucial role. The Prophet, that peace be upon him, was not only sent with the Quran, he was also sent to explain it, to demonstrate it, and to clarify its teachings. His Sunnah brings the words of the Quran to life, making the guidance practical, detailed, and complete. The Prophet's teachings on dogs. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was known for his gentleness, wisdom, and impeccable character. His words were not based on personal opinion or cultural norms. They were inspired by divine revelation. So when he spoke about dogs, he did so with knowledge that was beyond human understanding. One of the most well-known hadiths about dogs, recorded in both Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, states, "Whoever keeps a dog, except for hunting, guarding livestock, or farming, will lose 2 karats of their good deeds every day." The term karat refers to a significant measure of reward, often compared to the size of a mountain. Losing 2 karats per day is not a trivial matter. It signals a major spiritual loss. This hadith does not simply discourage keeping dogs without necessity. It explicitly warns that doing so has tangible consequences for one's deeds. However, it is important to note that the hadith also includes specific exceptions. It clearly permits dogs for 3 purposes: hunting, guarding livestock, protecting crops and property. This means that Islam does not prohibit dog ownership in general. Instead, it establishes criteria for why and how a dog may be kept. If a dog is kept for a valid reason, it is not only allowed but beneficial. However, keeping a dog purely as a pet, especially within the living spaces of a home, is strongly discouraged to the extent that it diminishes one's daily good deeds. Angels in the presence of dogs. Another significant hadith, also recorded in Bukhari and Muslim, states, "The angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or an image." This hadith links the presence of dogs in the home to the absence of angels of mercy, those who bring blessings, tranquility, and divine protection. The absence of these angels is not a minor issue for a believer. Can a Muslim keep a dog at home? The Islamic perspective. Have you ever wondered whether a Muslim can keep a dog at home? It's a question that comes up often, especially among those who love animals and feel a natural bond with these loyal creatures. Across cultures and throughout human history, dogs have played an essential role in people's lives. They have been more than just pets. They have been protectors, hunters, guides, and even sources of emotional comfort. Their intelligence, unwavering loyalty, and affectionate nature have made them one of the most beloved animals in the world. For many people, particularly in Western societies, a dog is not just an animal. It is a family member. Dogs live inside homes, sleep on beds, and are pampered like children. Their presence brings joy and companionship, filling households with warmth. The idea of owning a dog is seen as a natural and even necessary part of life for millions. But for a Muslim, the question of keeping a dog at home is not just about love or companionship. It's about something deeper, something spiritual. In Islam, a believer's primary compass is always the same. What does Allah say about this? Before following societal norms, before embracing trends, and even before listening to our own desires, we ask, what did Prophet Muhammad teach us? This is the essence of Islamic living. Whether it concerns our diet, our clothing, or the way we conduct our daily lives, our reference is always divine guidance. And when it comes to dogs, opinions can be confusing. Some say dogs are completely forbidden, haram, while others say there is nothing wrong with them at all. So who is right? It's not about taking sides or following personal opinions. It's about returning to the authentic sources, the Quran, the Hadith, and the interpretations of the scholars who spent their lives studying these teachings. This topic is particularly sensitive because it involves the well-being of animals, and Islam is, at its core, a religion of mercy. One of Allah's most frequently mentioned names is Ar-Rahman, the Most Merciful. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad was sent as a mercy to all creation. So, any ruling in Islam, even if it seems strict on the surface, carries both divine wisdom and compassion. Many Muslims grow up hearing that dogs are impure, that they prevent angels from entering a home, and that they must be avoided at all costs. This often leads to unnecessary fear or mistreatment of dogs. On the other hand, some Muslims, especially those raised in Western societies, feel that Islamic rulings on dogs are too restrictive or outdated. But as always, Islam is a religion of balance. It does not promote extremism, neither excessive harshness nor blind acceptance. The truth, as always, lies in the middle. So let's explore this issue step by step and clear up misconceptions. And where do we start? We start where every sincere seeker of truth begins, the Quran. Dogs in the Quran. A surprising revelation. Many people do not realize that dogs are mentioned in the Quran not just in passing, but in one of the most powerful and spiritual stories in the entire book, the story of the people of the cave, Ashab Al-Kahf, in Surah Al-Kahf. Allah tells us about a group of young men who fled from a corrupt society that worshipped idols. They refused to compromise their faith and left behind their homes, their wealth, and their comfort for the sake of Allah. Seeking refuge in a cave, they fell into a miraculous sleep that lasted for centuries. And then Allah mentions something interesting. And you would have thought them awake while they were asleep. And we turned them to the right and to the left while their dog stretched out its forelegs at the entrance. Surah Al-Kahf 18:18. This verse is profound. Think about it, Allah specifically chose to mention the dog. He could have left it out, but he didn't. This tells us something important. The dog was not a cursed or impure creature. It had a role to play. It guarded the young men while they slept, showing its loyalty and protective nature. The dog was part of the story of righteous believers, meaning its presence was not something condemned. Some scholars have even reflected on the spiritual symbolism of this verse. The dog did not enter the cave, it remained outside on the threshold. It was close yet separate, connected yet not in the same sacred space. Perhaps this imagery reflects Islam's balanced perspective on dogs. They are not rejected, but they are also not invited into our most spiritually pure spaces. Furthermore, nowhere in the Quran does it say that dogs are haram. There is no verse that forbids keeping a dog, and there is no command to avoid them entirely. In fact, in another verse, Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah mentions trained hunting dogs and allows their use in obtaining halal food. They ask you, O Muhammad, what has been made lawful for them? Say, lawful for you are all good foods and game caught by those hunting animals which you have trained as Allah has taught you. So eat of what they catch for you and mention the name of Allah upon it. Surah Al-Ma'idah 5-4. This is clear proof that dogs are not inherently impure or evil in Islam. So if the Quran does not prohibit dogs, then where do the restrictions come from? The Hadith, the Prophet's teachings on dogs. While the Quran does not forbid dogs, we must also look at the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. The Sunnah gives practical guidance on how to apply Islamic principles in our daily lives. One of the most famous hadiths regarding dogs states, "Whoever keeps a dog, except for hunting, guarding livestock, or farming, will lose 2 carats of their good deeds every day." Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Here, the Prophet did not forbid keeping dogs, but he set clear conditions. Keeping a dog for hunting is allowed. Keeping a dog to guard livestock or crops is allowed. Keeping a dog without need leads to a daily loss of good deeds. Why? Because everything in Islam is based on purpose. If something is necessary and beneficial, it is allowed. If something is unnecessary and affects spiritual well-being, it is discouraged. Another well-known hadith states, "The angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or an image." Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. This hadith is significant because angels bring blessings and mercy into a home. A home deprived of angels is a home deprived of divine protection and tranquility. Then there is the issue of purity. The Prophet said, "If a dog drinks from the vessel of one of you, he must wash it 7 times, the first time with earth." Sahih Muslim. This tells us that dog saliva is impure, najis. It does not mean the dog itself is filthy, but contact with its saliva requires purification. Conclusion: a balanced approach. Islam does not teach us to hate or mistreat dogs. In fact, Prophet Muhammad told us that a man was forgiven all his sins simply because he gave water to a thirsty dog. But Islam also reminds us to prioritize our spiritual purity. Owning a dog for valid reasons is allowed, but keeping one inside the house without necessity brings spiritual consequences. So the Islamic perspective on dogs is one of balance, respect, and wisdom, just like every other teaching in this beautiful religion. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to stay updated with more inspiring Islamic content. Like, share, and comment to support our work and spread the message.